finishing up our series on spiritual disciplines. And this one is the most important. And it's not the most important in what you do. It's the most important in that if you don't do this one, none of the other ones will actually happen. And the way that you know this is, have you ever had friends, so-called, who would actually dare you to do things? And you know it's going to be bad whenever they start off with it, right? I dare you. And you know it's going to be bad because when has anyone ever said, I dare you to something that you should do that's actually a good thing to do? And how many have stories of, how many of y'all have stories of that just ended bad? You know, you might want to testify. You want to testify? No?
We want to testify? How many times have I dared you to do something as a kid?
A story
that ended?
Yeah, that ended badly with the words that began, I dare you.
We went to the hospital once because of her. Because we were jumping off a swing, or off a chair onto a swing set. Ended up having to get stitches, pull her nose back out of her head. It was bad. It didn't end good.
So typically, whenever something like this happens, it's never really a good thing. But how many times, a good friend doesn't do that, do they? A good friend actually is supposed to encourage you into the things that you should be doing, instead of the things that they would like to exploit from you so they can get a good laugh at or get a kick out of.
I have a lot of friends like that, Kayla.
Hey, it works both ways, Ashley.
But as we look at this idea of discipline, and we think of discipline, it's kind of got a negative connotation to it, because when we think of discipline, we think, okay, somebody's about to get a switch out, somebody's about to take a belt off, and I'm about to get, tired. I'm about to get a whooping. That's what it's normally going to be. But discipline is actually the word you get the word disciple from. And as we follow Christ, and as we're supposed to be committing our lives to Him, there's a discipline involved there. And I like this discipline the most because this is the one, if this one is neglected, the rest don't follow through. It just doesn't happen. And there are two pains in life. There really are. There's just two pains in life. The pain of discipline and the pain of regret. The pain of discipline and the pain of regret. That has kind of stuck with me over the last year or two, because I think I heard it from some preacher that he says the pain of discipline and the pain of regret. Either you're going to put out the effort, the pain to go through the things that you need to go through for the end result, or you're not, and you're just going to flop, because if you fail to plan, you plan to fail, and that's the idea. That's the pain that's associated with that lack of discipline. So the two pains in life is that of discipline and pain. And I want to say this: friends are vital. Friends are vital to your spiritual health and to discipline. They are necessary. I think about people who keep me accountable. If it weren't for Ian, I would not get up at 5 in the morning and go run like a maniac all over this countryside and do all kinds of crazy things. So if you see somebody out in the middle of the street doing flutter kicks or something like that, that's us. And it's just crazy. We just do all kinds of crazy things. I would never do that on my own. There are friends that you know that bring things to the next level, isn't there? There are friends that you have that kind of pull you up, don't they? And those are the kind of friends you need, isn't it? And especially whenever we're looking at discipline, things of spiritual discipline, we need those kind of people. Iron sharpens iron, the Scripture says. So does the countenance of a friend. And so there is a sharpening, and if I could do anything tonight, I would want to sharpen you to cause you to be aware of. I want to dare you to be friendly, to have friends that are going to pull you up. And so I want us to look at David last time in Psalm 101. He states that in Psalm 101, I believe it's in verse 3, he states that the work of them that turn aside, it shall not cleave to me. David understood the value of people and that it affected him as a person. And he cites 3 types of people here that you need to be aware of, that you need to steer clear of. And if I start naming these off, it's going to be kind of funny. It's like when you start pointing to someone, we'll get to that in a moment. But look at the first one. It says that he that slandereth his neighbor. I want you to look at that one, the first one. He that slanders his neighbor. This is the person that can't pass up a good, juicy story. If there's something going around, they know about it before anybody does. Before news outlets know about it, they know about it. And if it's a story that has, any kind of juice to it, like, it's kind of like knowledge is power to them. They know this and they say, hey, did you hear about so-and-so? Or did you hear about this? Not looking at the sources to know if this is correct or not. They go ahead and pass on the information. Now, what they're doing is also, they are slandering their neighbor. That is, they are cutting them down without the evidence. And that's what someone who slanders does. And we have laws against that, actually. And so, they are ones that are going behind the scenes, talking about you, talking about them. And can I ask you, why would you want them as a friend? Because you're hearing all the stuff that they're saying about this person over here. What do you think they're telling about that person over there about you? You can't trust them. And so that is a vital part of a friendship, is there has to be trust. And if someone who's gone around behind the scenes slandering, he's not a friend you need to have. So, number 4 right there, the 3 types of friends to avoid slanders. I forgot to say this, and I was going to put this at the end, but the 2 biggest indicators of who you are and who you will be are the books you read and the friends you keep. But moving on, I want us to look at the second one. It says, him that has a high look and a proud heart. You need to be aware of them. You need to steer clear of them. Why is this one someone you need to steer clear of? Well, they're kind of big on one thing, aren't they? Themselves. They're the haughty ones, the ones that, and for your blanks here, they're the stuck-up ones. They're big on one thing. All the conversation always comes back around to one thing. It's back around to them. And if there's ever a story that you have, they got one better. They're going to one-up you every time. And what they typically do is they like to look down at these lesser folk. And they like to think and esteem themselves more than what they probably ought to. And what happens typically, if they feel like they can't reach that pinnacle, they will cut other people down just so that they can rise to be the tallest person in the land. And so this is not someone you need as a friend. This is certainly not someone you need as a friend. Because here's the thing. This is the scripture I want you to think about. Proverbs 16:18. He says, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Have you ever seen like an explosion? And it was intended for something? And something beside it got destroyed just simply being in proximity to the explosion? Why would you want to get near somebody who's about to be destroyed? You will be probably destroyed just because you're standing right beside them. You will be guilty by association. And so you need to give a wide berth from these people that have a haughty spirit. I want us to go ahead and, move on with that idea. Sometimes people are destroyed just because of the proximity. But I want you to understand this too. Scripture says God resists the proud. He stepped on. He resists the proud, but he gives grace to who? The humble. Now, why would you want someone in your company, of friends, your close inner circle, why would you want to accept someone who God is resisting? Does that make sense? Why would you want to do that? And so, these are friends you need to avoid. Number 3, the last one, he that works deceit. And this is, I have this one down as sly. They're sly. Okay? These are the people that are just, let me just say, they're liars. They're going to lie to you. They're going to tell you one story, but then they're going to go over here and tell someone else a totally different story. And they are trying to exploit you and to kind of hedge their bets, if you will, so that they can rise above you. They're not looking out for you. They're looking out for themselves. If the heat turns on, they're the atom. The woman that you gave me, they pass the buck on, and they lie about it. And so they don't take responsibility. They like to put the responsibility on other people. I can't tell you how many times in boot camp I got in trouble because someone just